Super thin knife. Nice material. Surprising what you could do with good material. Let's see what we got here. I got to, it's been a while since I've worked any obsidian, so I got to be really careful not to hit too hard because of that. I'm gonna make a knife blade out of this. Man, it really, every time I work obsidian, after not working it for a while, really, I'm afraid to hit it. I'm gonna hit here, try to run a flake in there, like that. Just thin it. Get some problem in here. Wonder if I used caribou antler on this stuff instead of copper, if it would go a little bit easier. Possibly. Now I gotta decide, where do I want my blade? Probably from here to here. So I'm gonna bring it in this way and maybe a touch that way. Start thinning it more. I like to do the majority of my blades with just a little tiny billet. This stuff, it's kind of a duller obsidian, but it doesn't jab you in the hand as much as glassy obsidian. I like this stuff a lot. It also seems to hold its edge a little bit better when using it. This, I don't know, it's like it's not really see-through. It's kind of gray-black. So when I want, me personally, when I want to thin an area, I hit straight down just to make an edge to flip it over and strike on. So I got a really cruddy area in there. Usually I'll use indirect, but I'll try to get it with just percussion. Got some of it. Got it. Gone. I really am afraid to strike hard like I usually do to get rid of these thick areas. So I don't want to break this piece. I'll try to get rid of this lump here. And if you look at the way I'm holding it, most people would hold it like that. I've been finding that if I hold it like this, I'm less likely to cut myself, and the flake kind of travels a tiny bit further. I'm not really too sure why, but it does. I didn't hit hard enough. Went to right there. Alright. Really am scared to hit my normal hard hits. I guess it's fine. If I break it, I could just get another big flake and do it all over again, right? Damn. There we go. Wish that had gone a little further. All right. Something I've found about obsidian blades is if you make the blade smaller and the handle small, it's less likely to break the blade when you're using it. The real oversized blades seem to kind of give some problems. And you also don't want to make it too thin. I know I say that a lot, but if you're using it, don't try to go ultra thin for use. Ultra thin will make nicer cuts, but ultra thin is likely to break. Fixing up the base. All right. This is all kind of wonky here. I tend to leave a lot of room on obsidian width-wise, because I mess up a lot on obsidian and I tend to break it. So I like to give myself a lot of room for error. Alright, actually I'm going to try some indirect on this, just a tiny bit. I do want this knife blade to be kind of narrow, like probably like that, but I'm not sure yet. All right. Yeah, we'll see how this does. Not too bad. I think I'm going to use a billet instead. And bring this up a little, tiny bit. Man, I don't know if I've used much indirect on obsidian. I'm kind of scared of it. Obsidian makes me nervous. Yeah, it's working pretty good. All right. Say it's... See how long that flake went with just a little? That's what I'm not used to. On my normal stuff, you gotta hit a heck of a lot harder than that. And, yeah. This is not really a how-to video, but you can see what I'm doing. If anybody wants an instructional video, like I did with the limestone one, let me know in the comments and I'll work on that. I don't know how much more, how much more I should work with indirect on this. There's just some areas that I don't want to try to pressure flake off, like right here. See this little ridge? That would mess me up if I tried to pressure flake that. I think. I don't know. In the past, it would have messed me up. There we go. Just get rid of some of it. Indirect working quite nicely on this. All right. What do you think? A wide bladed knife? That'd be kind of cool if I could do that. I've never tried that, so I'm gonna try that. Caribou antler, copper nail. And this is goat leather. Let me try to copper first. Do the other side with caribou. That's nice. Flaking nice, wow. caribou antler is kind of gouging it, taking big flakes out. Huh, interesting. Sharp, sharp. All right. Do a little bit more indirect on the base. Just to shape it a little more. Okay. So there's a weird curve in the base here, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of it just with like that. Better. Okay. So I'm going to stick to copper, because that seems more controlled. If anybody has no idea what I'm doing, I have other videos that explain more than this. Really, I'm just demonstrating at the moment. But if you want to learn how to do this, I have other videos, as do others. Or you can write in the comments that you want to know exactly what's going on. I'll make another video describing more. Sometimes when I pressure flake, I do crush the edges a little bit, but not too much to affect anything. Just grind them off, gentle, and reflake. So I got a little bit of problem area right here. I'm just gonna flake it away like that. There's a curve in the tip that I don't like. All right. If you want to see me work obsidian more, let me know. My channel has been more about difficult materials, like stuff like that. How to get around all that crud and stuff like that. But I figured I would do an obsidian video just to see how it did and to see if people want that or not. So the caribou antler, it's working really well for problem spots. I'm not going to go much thinner than this. This edge here I have to figure out because it's too thin there, and the blade will break if somebody tries to use it. So also that curve in it is not so great. So I'm just going to shape it a little bit. All right. That nice and flaked up. There are some areas on here with like hinges, tiny ones, but you could pick them off with your fingernails most of the time. Like that. There's a little one here that's not so great. So what I'm gonna do, people have really been asking for notching demos. So I'll see what I can do here. My camera stand is not the best. All right. Let me get rid of this. Turn my chair. All right. So for notching, I usually start it with something a little heavier duty. Usually I use the Ishii stick, but I'm going to use Caribou today. So straight down in. You see how it took that corner off there? And then same thing, flip it around other side. Like that. Alright, so I'm going to switch to copper. I can't zoom. Yeah, I can't zoom this way, so. The other problem is this leather gets in the way. Alright, so in the notch, in and down. Flip it over, in and down. See that? And it's taking out flakes like that when you do this. See that? Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. The base is not even on this, so I'm going to have to go back and reshape the base. There is a spot here that's kind of high too, but that shouldn't affect when I put it in the handle. See that? And I think I'll keep it like that. There's one spot here that's not too great. Better for cutting. And there's this one spot right here and right here. Kind of crushing it a little bit. Tiny bit. Just trying to take off the tiniest little flakes. All right. Damn, that's sharp as heck. There's the other side. Not as flaked. I did majority of the flaking on this side. Perfect knife. That's pretty big. Look at that. And you can go through and just pick all these out with a little, maybe X-Acto knife or even your fingernail. Sometimes, like that. See how I picked that off? And you just go through and make it look nice. Ah, that is sharp. Ow! Okay, guys. I think that's it for videos for today. And I'll put this up for sale as well if anybody wants it. It'll be on my Etsy shop. Just, you can order the medium-sized knives if it's a medium-sized blade like this. That's what I consider medium. Large would be to the tip of my fingers. If you go onto the Etsy shop and you order a medium-sized knife, just put in the notes that you request the obsidian blade made in this video. That's that. Let me know if you want me to do a more detailed one, guys. Glass right here at the fire pit. You can try to make a spear point out of it. Somebody left me a gift. Glass like breaks really easy. And I hit really hard. Take this thing with this big nub. I put it under my knee like this. And then I look at it and I get really scared. Then I pray. I don't snap it. Ah, Jesus. There we go. I learned on glass, but I made these little tiny things like this because I just broke them all. Because I hit with a giant ass moose antler. Let's see. Can I do this? Ooh, Jesus. It worked. But you see how that flake came off onto the pad? I just pushed it off. So, indirect percussion. You put the tip of the flaker here, put it under your knee, and you hit there to take the flake off rather than using your shoulder. So I try to do as much as I can indirect, and so far on glass I have this, but I have not done this method of indirect on glass. I usually use it on tough chert, so I'm afraid I'm going to snap it. So I'll do a little bit more, and then I'm going to try to pressure flake the rest of it.
And then eat pancakes.
And then eat pancakes. There wasn't like really anybody on YouTube that did flint knapping or just any way to learn from anybody. And what I struggled with is to get this part that's not flaked. As you can see, it still has the pattern of the bottle on it. You gotta get the flakes to run halfway, or more than halfway. And what really, and grind it down to make an edge that you could really push. Now I use this with indirect too, but I'm a little afraid to on glass. So I'm just gonna try to pressure flake it, and if I leave a little bit of that on, it's no big deal. But normally I like to get all of that off. Here's the other side. And it's getting there. I have a spot there I have to take off, and I just have to shape it. So I'm just about finished with this point. I'll flip it around and show you the other side. It's nice and thin. Hey guys, in this video I'm going to nap a piece of New York limestone. It does seem to have some chert in it, so it's like a cherty limestone, but this is very similar to the pure limestone that I've seen that I've napped before. Just works a little bit easier, but it's still limestone. It also seems to have some shale deposits in it, and we're going to see what I could come up with. Limestone. One of the ways I've been able to tell limestone is these weird ripples in it, as well as it's just super grainy. First thing I'm going to do is spall this down and biface it using a copper billet from my flint knapping kit. I am grinding the edges to strengthen the stone so that when I strike it with the billet, the flakes peel off really nicely, rather than crushing and crumbling when you're hitting it and just turning into dust. The next step is I'm going to use my Ishii stick made from Delron and a copper nail to drive smaller flakes off the biface. And I'm going to use this by placing the copper nail on platforms and striking with either the moose antler or the billet, which drives the flakes further than just my plain hand can do. each time you strike the point, you are removing material and making the biface smaller and smaller. So this takes some careful planning to what kind of spear point, arrowhead, or knife that you want. In this case, I'm going for a long dart point. Start shaping the point, you're going to want to flip the point back and forth, zigzagging, to make the edge able to be even. If you need to take a lot of mass off one side, the best bet is to zigzag it, grind it, and then thin the thicker side. And the way you thin it is you rest the copper flaker on the platform, you press in hard on the flaker into the point, and then when you hit down, it takes a long flake off. And it will follow your fingers if you hold the point with your fingers. It'll follow the shape of your fingers for the flake to travel a little bit further. At this point, I am going to switch to pressure flaking with a caribou antler flaker and a copper flaker. I'm using goat hide leather to protect my hand while I'm doing this. Pressure flaking is the same as indirect flaking, except you're pushing the pressure in and down with your wrists, shoulder, and legs. In this demonstration, I am holding it up high so you could see what I am doing. Here I will use a smaller copper billet to drive off smaller flakes. As the point gets thinner, you're not going to want to use a heavy billet. It has a high chance of snapping it in half. And now we're at the tricky part. This is where I attempt to put in some pretty good notches. The notches, when you're hafting this tool to wood, you're going to want the notches to line up evenly so that when you slide it into the wooden shaft, you can tie with sinew through these notches. And then when it dries, it grabs and pulls it all together, and then you have a usable spear point. But this part is the most tricky. I use indirect to start my notches, and then I use the copper pressure flaker to finish the notches. Now, because this is limestone, when pressure flaking, it is likely to crush and crumble when you're flaking. It's going to be very hard to get long flakes when pressure flaking. You're better off using indirect. But when you're pressure flaking it, you'll notice that it almost kind of bevels the edge a little bit. And you'll see what I mean towards the end. I do wind up grinding the edge and pressure flaking it, Ishii stick indirect flaking it in order to make it thinner. But you'll see what's going on here in a minute, and you'll see that this is getting sharper and sharper and thinner and thinner. doing some final sharpening on this and just finishing the shape. And as you can see, this is a really difficult material, but if you need local stone, limestone is a good choice for making spear points, arrowheads, and knives. It's just as sharp, it's just a little more brittle. But as you can see here, this is a beautiful, wicked, deadly point. Now, what I'm going to do today is going to be a smaller blade for utility work. So first thing you're going to want to do is protect yourself. Put some leather on your leg. Take a bopper, could be antler or copper. And hit right here, see if I can get a fairly large flake off. So I'm going to do this quick as I can without breaking it. Switch to a smaller bopper. And like I said, we're going to make this one fairly small, so I'm going to take off about this much. Keep the blade small. If you're new to knapping, don't try to go this fast. Take your time and know your angles, set them up right, take the flakes off. Make that smaller. Smaller meaning thinner and shorter. Let's switch to a smaller one. Smaller. So as I go along, I'm just making it smaller and smaller. We want it small enough to fit in that handle. So it's a tiny handle. I'm going to want it small enough and comfortable enough to use for utility work, whether that be small game, fish, or even just opening packages. We don't want it too long either, because with a smaller handle, if it's too long and you're applying pressure, it might break right here. Working the edge. All right. It's going faster. So this is more of the size I was thinking. Just straighten up the edges a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop with the percussion here. What I'm going to do is grind all the edges all the way around. Give myself areas to pressure flake on here. Now we're going to see how well that fits in. Pretty good, but it has to go a little bit thinner in the base. Now, copper on that end, caribou antler on that end. So what I'm doing is pressure flaking on the opposite side. I'm creating these little serrations right at my fingertip there. You can do that all the way down your cutting edge. Indirect, just for one spot here. Okay. Go back to pressure flaking. Now, something like this you don't want too thin with obsidian, because if you try to use obsidian when it's too thin, it'll snap. It's basically glass. You're gonna get splinters working obsidian. Now, one thing you could do with this is you could make a neck knife, which I tend to not do with obsidian because it's so sharp. But when you heft it in like that, you could drill a little hole through here, put it on a necklace, and wear it around your neck. But you're going to want a sheath for this to cover it, to make sure you don't get cut. I'm just going a little slow here for the camera, but all I'm doing is sharpening up the edges, making it really, really sharp. So next thing I'm gonna do on this is put a notches, probably right in here. And I'm going to do it at an angle because I find that the corner notches are stronger than the notches that go straight in. I'm just going to do that real quick. I don't want these to go too deep either, because like I said, if you're working with obsidian, it'll break at weak spots. So it'll break right there. So you don't want to make it you don't want to make those too deep. Just enough to get a secure tie-in. All right. Spot here. All right. So just a real quick corner notch from obsidian. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to add a glue in here. Make sure this fits. Fits pretty good. Tie it. And let it dry. Now you could use any kind of glue in here to make that secure. And I like to wrap it with sinew. I'm going to grind this edge down just a little to keep it flush. But you wrap with sinew, make sure it's wrapped on the bone, on the antler, on the wood, whatever, and make sure it's really glued in there. And I'll show you what this can do as soon as it's dried up and how well these work. Okay, so it's not completely dry yet, but I'm gonna use a bait fish and just clean them a little bit. If the glue is dry enough, I'll just do it gentle because it's not dry yet. And I'm not going to show the guts, but you just pull the guts out now, and then you could use him as catfish bait, because I'm not going to eat him. But yeah, that works. You could say clean cut. Clean cut. And that's a little utility knife for you. Cut meat too, look at that. So one of the things I've found is that stone knives cut a little different than your modern knife. It's razor sharp, but what you want to do is you want to poke in first with the tip. So you poke in, then you cut. With this, it's easy enough to just cut like that. But if you're trying to get a clean cut down this way, you could go in this way, poke in, and then zip, or go in this way and zip. Hope you guys liked this video. We made this little highly portable, highly effective obsidian stone knife. Be back soon with new videos, guys. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you get notified. And I will see you soon. Thanks, guys.